Hey, welcome back to another video. It has been a hot minute, but it is finally time to catch up on the final issue of Kamen Rider 01, the amazing comic book brought to us by Titan Comics. I said comic a lot there. Like I said, it's been a hot minute, but I am back and dealt with a lot of self-loathing that I haven't totally gotten rid of, but it's marginally better, and I'm here to make myself suffer just that little bit more. So, when last we left Kamen Rider 01, Ragnarok had just transformed into Ragnarok Supreme, I'm pretty sure is the name of that form. I just rewatched the video I did on the third issue the other day, and I already can't remember. It really doesn't matter because it's terrible and it's stupid. He just transformed into his new form using the 1000 key, and was about to annihilate Aruto, because that's pretty much all we've been doing this entire time. So basically, as soon as the issue starts, it's largely just big fight scene. Ragnarok Supreme starts slamming his hand down, then Ames rolls up on the scene, and you can imagine they do a great job given that they're not transformed at all. They do so good that Ragnarok literally tears their vehicle in half, and he starts speaking in the most generic villain stuff ever. "Your death screams will echo around the planet for days." And it's like, man, I've heard better villain dialogue from 80s cartoons. Vulcan and Valkyrie finally get involved in the fight, and they're still snarking at Aruto, mentioning that they found him partially thanks to the constant explosions in the middle of the night. And guys, I know you really hate him right now for some reason, but maybe now isn't the time. To the point where Aruto starts to explain what's going on, and Fua interrupts him just so he can be a dick. And when they transform, and for some reason when they transform they say their rider names, which they've not done before. It's not a big deal, but I just thought it was weird. So Vulcan and Valkyrie get involved in the fight. It goes, again, about as well as you would expect. He wipes the floor with them. And then Aruto starts to explain that when Ragnarok was infiltrating Hedon Tower, they noticed that he was disrupted by the electromagnetic source, which again is not what happened. That only occurred because it was not the real Ragnarok, but as we established last issue, the writer already forgot that that was a thing. So, that is just how we're operating on how Ragnarok works now, and Izu basically just explains that to stop Ragnarok you need to go to an area with a really strong magnetic field. To help them get there, Izu summons 3 Rise Hoppers, which to their credit, they at least got the name right, but there aren't 3 of them. There's only the one. They explained in the show that they actually have to bring the bike back up to Satellite Zeya every single time Aruto summons it. There's only the one, and there definitely are not Vulcan and Valkyrie specific ones, which are kind of neat, I guess, but they don't exist. And that's nitpicky probably, but a lot of this is nitpicky. So Vulcan and Valkyrie stay behind to keep Ragnarok busy while Aruto and Izu head to a hydroelectric plant to actually start up the plan to finally beat Ragnarok. And they hold him back for all of about 10 seconds before he just sort of blasts through all of them. There is this kind of neat panel with Vulcan and Valkyrie unhelmeted while they're in suit, but yeah, their distracting Ragnarok really doesn't amount to much. Who knows how many regular Ames people got killed in this entire situation, because they're not Kamen Riders. So Aruto and Izu head over to the Saiwai power station to start conducting their plan, pun sort of intended. Ragnarok is already on his way, you can see him in the background of the panel, and so that Aruto actually has a chance of fighting Ragnarok, Izu gives him the Breaking Mammoth Progrise Key, which is the strongest form we're going to be seeing in this entire series. And once again, weird thing, when Aruto goes into Breaking Mammoth, he says Henshin again. Dude's already transformed. Again, nitpicky, weird thing, just something I noticed. And it's here I noticed Ragnarok's size is really inconsistent. Previously, he seemed about the size of a regular human. Here, he's the same size as Breaking Mammoth, and Breaking Mammoth is enormous. Literally a giant mech suit. There are some panels earlier in the issue where he looked kind of bigger, but still not this huge, and I'm not certain if it's just they weren't sure about how tall he was supposed to be, or if he's supposed to be changing size here. Regardless, it seems very wonky. So we get more of a fight. Breaking Mammoth manages to do some damage to Ragnarok, and then Aruto jumps out of Breaking Mammoth and de-transforms in this slightly wonky looking panel. Naruto goes, if you want to destroy the riders, you'll have to kill the humans beneath the mask, if you've got the guts to face me. And Ragnarok is basically like, okay, you're still a Kamen Rider. You wear a driver belt. And Aruto's stupid thing is, you'll not be terminating a rider, you're committing murder. He would have already been committing murder anyway, regardless of if you're transformed or not. Naruto goes, if you terminate all the Kamen Riders, who will be left to terminate you? And who said there was ever supposed to be somebody to terminate Ragnarok? Just based on what we know of this stupid thing that they've come up with, that's not really the point. Ragnarok existed to get rid of any rogue Kamen Riders. He wasn't supposed to then also be destroyed. Plus, never mind the fact that Ragnarok's actual purpose doesn't matter anymore. He achieved sentience last issue. He's killing you because he wants to. Why he wants to is anybody's guess, but he does want to. But Aruto stands completely defenseless, tells Ragnarok to fulfill his mission. Pretty much nothing happens. Ragnarok tries to kill Aruto, but Easy swings in, saves him at the last minute. Aruto transforms again for no real reason that I can determine, and Ragnarok is destroyed by the magnet that shouldn't have worked. And for some reason that I still don't understand, Ragnarok's corpse then springs back up and shatters into pieces. So, later, Fua and Yaiba are asking how Aruto defeated Ragnarok, and he just said that he says that Ragnarok was he's too smart to just walk into a turbine room, so he had to distract him long enough, and basically told him that he had to, reminding him that he was the last Kamen Rider would make him recalculate his mission, which only made him angrier. But this doesn't make any sense, because Ragnarok's mission didn't matter anymore. When he awakened, he was doing it because he was designed to do it, but as of last issue, by his own frickin' words, he was not killing Aruto because he was programmed to do it. He was doing it because he wanted to. So ideally, I would assume anyway, that Ragnarok would not want to then destroy himself afterwards. He would have killed Aruto, then Yaiba and Fua, and probably any other Kamen Riders who showed up, pretty much just because he wanted to. And they do some nonsense about how the idea that Kamen Riders could also be innocent humans was something Ragnarok had never considered, which really doesn't even seem to tie into what's going on in the issue, but whatever, we'll just say stuff that doesn't mean anything anymore. So Yaiba and Fua drive away, Aruto gives another joke, and in the ultimate crime of this comic, they do not show Fua absolutely cracking up at it, 0 out of 10. And then the comic ends with a cut over to Metsubo Jinrai to remind us that they exist, and they just say a whole bunch of nonsense that doesn't mean a damn thing about how maybe it was the will of the Ark that prompted this, if it was a test or a challenge or whatever, and it doesn't mean anything. It's all complete nonsense. It's as if we've learned anything more. If anything, we've learned more about how Zero-One fights and what he doesn't know about being a Kamen Rider. What does that mean in the context of this comic or the context of Zero-One as a whole either? But hey, this is our only appearance of Jin in the entire friggin' series. Yeah, it ends with just a reminder that Metsubo Jinrai exists and some absolute nonsense. Good lord, this series is terrible. I made that clear enough last issue that it was bad, but this one is just... it's exactly as bad an ending as you would expect from how poor this comic has been. In a way, I'm not surprised, but I'm still very disappointed. The first two issues, I was still, I'd say, pretty positive about. They were not perfect, but they were decent anyway. Starting with the third issue, it just completely annihilated itself, and then this final issue is the final just kick in the nuts that is the realization that Titan doesn't care about Kamen Rider, and that Brandon Easton, the writer, doesn't know anything about this show, despite the fact that he has said he's seen it, which I believe he might have watched it, but I don't think he was really paying attention. So yeah, at the end of the day, the Kamen Rider Zero-One comic was a neat idea that could have been really good if it was taken on by a company that actually cared about the license, but instead it was not. We got a story that made basically zero sense, didn't really gel with Zero-One in general, didn't get character personalities right, with lackluster art that sometimes was pretty good, but largely is just kind of meh, especially in this issue. There's not anything that I would say is particularly noteworthy in terms of, like, really good panels or posing or what have you. There is, though, this shot of the Sci-Y power plant that is very obviously just a shot from the show that they put a filter over, so, you know, great job on the artwork there. I guess, like I said, there is that one panel of Vulcan and Valkyrie still transformed but with the helmets off, but it's not great. There's just a big explosion still going on. It's more of a neat general visual than the actual quality of the artwork being anything to write home about. The shots of Zeya also are very obviously just filtered. It's not great. The art is, at the very least, the least bad part of it, but it's still not very good. The writing is where it really falters, and boy howdy does it falter hard. It's terrible. There you have that. Like I said in the last video, do not buy these. At this point, I really don't think anybody's going to. It's November now. This issue's been out for months. And nobody else has talked about it other than me, I guess, because this is the limit of my relevancy. But, you know, just in case you were thinking about buying it when the trade comes out or whatever, don't. The only reason I bought this 4th issue was because I felt like I needed to for this video. I'm not going to be buying the trade whenever that happens. Whatever Kamen Rider material Titan publishes in the future, I would strongly advise either avoiding or looking very much into before you commit any of your money to it. Because, as I've mentioned before, between this and the Kamen Rider Kuga manga translation whole debacle, it's painfully obvious they don't really care that much about Kamen Rider, that they picked up the license simply because they knew people were clamoring for it and it would probably make them a quick buck. I don't know if Titan's other licensed material is like this, but for Kamen Rider, it's very clear they didn't actually give a damn about what they were putting out. They just wanted to throw a product out there that fans would buy. For as much as there's weird stuff about Marvel's Ultraman comics, or the complaints I've got about Boom's Power Rangers comics, at least they seem like they're made by people that actually care about what they're putting out, and that the fans will actually like and enjoy the product. This is not one of those. It's bad. Do not buy it. So that is going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, then you can subscribe and stay notified of when I upload new stuff. Hopefully I will not go 7 months without uploading a video again, but you know, hard times. If you want to support me more directly, I do have a Patreon that's linked in the description where you can donate a few bucks, get some neat perks, but you don't have to. If you're not in a position to do so or you don't want to, then that's perfectly okay. Just liking the videos and sharing them around is more than enough. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I've been tweeting kind of a little bit more often recently about general stuff and the things that I am watching. So there's that as well. That is all for now, and I will see you guys next time.